All right, yesterday the president surprised the press and the nation when he walked into the White House press briefing room and addressed the verdict in the Zimmerman trial. Listen.
When Trayvon Martin was first shot, I said that this could have been my son. Another way of saying that is Trayvon Martin could have been me 35 years ago.
But should the president even be weighing in on this controversy, and what exactly is he saying? Joining us now with his reaction is radio talk show host David Webb. David, thanks a lot for joining us. There are a lot of ways to look at the Zimmerman trial, it seems to me, but the president clearly sees it as a referendum on race relations in America. He's making it about race.
Right, and he hasn't. Let me say this. Should the president have weighed in, any president, regardless of party? I think he could have done so succinctly, but this off-the-cuff supposed remark, he came in with his notes, he stood there, and that's fine. It's what he did when he wanted multiple bites at the apple. He paints a monolithic approach. In other words, most blacks have been profiled. Most black men have been profiled. Well, how do you anecdotally assert that something has happened with millions of people? Has it happened? It's true. But what they want is the bites at the apple, that you're all within this monolithic block, therefore follow me along. I don't like it. Could he have done a 2 or 3 minutes and spoken? And by the way, he didn't speak to Zimmerman. He didn't speak to their families also in turmoil. So if he really wanted to speak to all Americans, he should have done so. And let's not ignore the political component of this with the rallies this weekend, that days after the verdict, the president comes out and off the cuff, quotes in the air, suddenly speaks on this issue.
You cover politics pretty regularly, of course, on your radio show. Was there a political component to this? Some saying he had nothing to gain politically by going to the podium in this, and that it was really a moral speech that the president wanted to give. Does he stand to gain politically at all from this?
Absolutely. And look, he's the president. Whenever a president speaks, it's political, no matter what. That's the nature of the job. That's the position. He stands to gain because this is going to rebut the criticism from his base. And when you look at who's out there supporting him, because it's not just the president.
Be specific. What criticism from his base that he hasn't been outspoken
from the black community? He's received criticism for not being more vocal on this, for not coming out. They issued a written statement, not another statement, not another construct son. Now the construct is it could have been me. Yes, it could have been you, but that's your experience. My experience is to my best of my knowledge, have never had someone clutch their purse. Now, has somebody done it? Yes, but do I care? If they did, no. It's what I do and how my actions are in any situation that matter to me.
Do you think him speaking out, he talks about racial tension in the United States. Is it helping the cause or hurting? Is it causing more division?
It'll be used by others. I think we have to let it play out a little bit more. It'll be used by others, and I'll cite some specific examples. You've got Jesse Jackson saying that Florida is an apartheid state when it comes to stand your ground laws, when he's cited the numbers of how it's used by blacks, whites, and all others, and it rebuts his case. You've got Mark Morial, former mayor of New Orleans. Mark goes on TV and takes what the president said, race relations, Trayvon, and goes into it, and then throws in the voting rights and mischaracterizes the voting rights decision by the Supreme Court to try and gin up fear. And Al Sharpton and the others, they all go out and play this game when, in fact, if you want to have a real conversation, have a conversation about what you can do. You want 100 rallies in 100 cities? How about 100 meetings in community centers across the country to say, hey, neighborhood watches, hey, people in the community, come down. Let me show you about interacting with each other. Maybe you should wear jackets, and maybe you should identify yourself or have identifying flashlights. Do something to show people how they can interact with each other. Those are real conversations.
100%, because if these two men had had a real conversation on the streets, he could have said, hey, I'm just visiting my dad who lives a few blocks away. I'm safe, I'm fine, I live in the neighborhood.
Right, I mean, Zimmerman, who knows what happened in those 2 minutes, but an interaction changes things.
Exactly.
And look, I've had the experience in college. I was jumped by a bunch of kids. It wasn't racial. They all happened to be white, as far as I know, and it didn't matter. I was getting my butt kicked. But I didn't have this long-standing animus afterwards that said, well, all white people are bad. It's what you do. And to the American people, it's time to reject the baiting and the Mark Morials of the world and the Jesse Jacksons, the Al Sharptons, who take what the president said. Let's not parse he took bites at the apple, but we can parse it. Let's focus on what we do to fix the problem.
David Webb.
Thank you.
Nicely put. Thank you very much.
Thanks, David.